Boomer Sooner.
Handoff up the middle, easy like Sunday morning, touchdown.
This is the Riverwind Casino Coach's Corner on the Sooner Sports Network from Learfield. Presented by Riverwind Casino. Always a good time. Also brought to you by Dos Equis, official import beer of OU Athletics. Go for Dos. Enjoy Dos Equis responsibly. And by Walden Cleaners. Walden Cleaners and Laundry, where the difference is quality. This is the Riverwind Casino Coach's Corner. Here are your hosts, Chris Plank and Gabe Eichert.
Here we go. Welcome inside the Coach's Corner along with Gabe Eichert. I'm Chris Plank, and for the first time this year, we say hello to Sooner receivers coach Emmett Jones. What's going on, Coach?
How are you doing? What's going on?
I'm far away from you, but it's good to see you back, man. Year 3 we're going into with Coach Jones here in Norman, and listen, I'm a superstitious guy. But it's got to be nice to go into that room every week and see dudes. You know, nobody fought through it last year more than you. How did you learn? You know, we were joking before we started. Coach Jones said you learn something every time you go into the gym. How did you learn as a coach to deal with the adversity you dealt with last year with guys battling through adversity, battling through injuries? How did that help you as a coach?
Well, for one, depth purposes, you want to take pride in having quality for walk-ons in your room, good bodies in your room. And I had to kind of like modify some stuff I was doing from a teaching standpoint, fundamentals, individual, getting guys out early, getting a little extra work in before practice actually get going, because I like to get my fundamentals in. And then at the same time, just staying up to date with the new sports science information, man. That's taking over. You got new, different type of bodies now, different type of kids now. So the treatment and just the whole approach is totally different now with these new age kids, So, and listen to your kids and understand how the bodies are feeling and constantly reinforcing, taking care of yourself on a day-to-day basis.
I know that John Mateer is going to miss some time with the injury, but what did him and his confidence in the way that he carries himself do for the guys in your room leading up to this season, throughout the offseason? Because I've been on teams when you got a guy at quarterback, and it kind of just changes the entire demeanor of the offense and of the team. What was that like for your guys in that room once Mateer came into the fold?
It kind of changed the whole mindset. What I mean by that is, like, we're Oklahoma, this OU. We're the wide receivers of Oklahoma. We're the best in the country. It's only one way to do it. Is one standard: win, chase championships, and constantly preaching that, believing it, and just having that mindset on a day-to-day basis that we do everything at a high standard on an elite level. Just change the whole thought process of just we are the top team in the country, top program in the country.
I'll never forget when Jay Valai came on with us the first year you were hired, and we were talking about how well your receivers were blocking downfield, and we've seen that improve every single year. And Jay Valai said, well, that dude over there, he's built different. And it's just about your mindset. You want your guys to be physical out there, and I think, through all the highlights we're seeing here on the TV side of things, from Isaiah Satania catching touchdowns to Deion Burks making plays, what maybe doesn't make the highlight reel is on the runs, even if it's a jet sweep. Your dudes are downfield blocking. How important is that mentality?
Oh, man, we talk about all the time about being great without the football. I'm still old school. I like to get guys on the sled, driving, and pumping the whistle and motivating, encouraging, and doing it with technique also too. So now, guys, that's just as big as catching a big touchdown, a big catch in a game. Dominate out on the perimeter.
I know it probably feels like it was forever ago, but we have not had this show since the Auburn win. How important was it, not only for the guys in your room, but for this team to get that win, to be able to go put that late drive together, put the touchdown on the board, and get a really solid SEC win?
Just put a stamp on everything, as far as what we said back in early January, what we said back in the summertime, as far as, we're going to dominate anybody we play against. We are the best, and just to have that mindset to get it done. Nobody folded, not one coach, not one player. Everybody just had the mindset, the belief that we was going to get it done. And adversity hit, but we overcame it, and just put a stamp on it.
Our opening segment, by the way, with Emmett Jones, brought to you by Community Coffee, family-owned Community Coffee, the official brewed coffee of OU Athletics. Taste the difference that family makes. And just real quick before we start diving into your room a little bit, Gabe had brought up John Mateer and the injury. What have you seen from Michael Hawkins this week? A lot of great buzz around the way that he's prepared for this week.
This maturation, he got a chance to sit back and watch John do his deal. And at the same time, he's in a room with with a few good quality coaches, Arbuckle, Coach Coos. Those guys do a good job as far as instilling the rules, the principles within the curriculum. And shoots, man, it just flowed down to him, cleaned up his technique, his confidence at a high level now. Then you can look out on the perimeter, look in the backfield, and surrounded with weapons.
It's just a completely different situation than he was thrown into a year ago.
Totally different.
Banged up O-line, decimated wide receiver core. It's completely different. So my expectations, especially against Kent State for Hawk, is that my expectations are sky high, Coach. But let's get to talking about some of your guys. I was thrilled when Deion Burks decided to come back for another year of college football because I thought there was a lot of improvement to be made for him in his game. What type of improvement have you seen from Deion? He's healthy and he's producing.
For one, being a student in the classroom, being dialed in detail, as far as taking good quality notes, asking good questions, taking coaching well also, too, being available for once, and then, enhancing his footwork also, too. Deion likes to play fast. You have to tell him every now and then, every route is not full speed. You already have elite speed. If you run at 3-4 speed, you're pretty much faster than everybody that lined up against you. And just understanding the platform, the base that he needs to transition and win in certain situations with guys in his hips. He's still, striving to improve in certain areas, but you could definitely see a different player than you had last year. That's one thing I'm impressed with him. And then how he treats those young guys also too. Him, Jay Knott, how he encourages those young guys, the new guys that's on campus. And so that's just helping him get his blessings on the back end.
We talk a lot about, how he's improved speed, his hands, route running, all that stuff. But I've heard Deion talk quite a bit about how he's improved things off the field for himself and how that translates into his play. What have you seen from him when it comes to maturing off the field, and how do you think that's affected him as a player?
Just being a good person, being in, surrounding himself with right people. That's all about the right things, not being a follower. I think he kind of got caught up in stuff last year, following, doing things that really wasn't him. That wasn't on his mind when he first was considering Oklahoma, leaving Purdue, coming to Oklahoma. He just was focused on, locked in on being the best receiver he can be. Wanted to replace Drake Stoops bad as possible, but he got here, found himself following with free time, and had some bad situations to come up. And matter of fact, that's one of the main reasons why he wanted to come back. He wanted to clean himself up in certain areas off the field. And now he's getting his blessings.
And we saw him go through some adversity late.
Yeah.
Had the tough hit against Missouri, had the family issue with his home. I mean, just what a great kid. Yeah. And I feel like I say this a lot. Gabe and I are blessed to be on the sidelines during the game. We're down there, we see it. It's a good group of kids.
It is.
Man, and I say kids, grown men, whatever term you want to use.
Young men.
There you go. Yeah. It's just, I feel like across the board, there's just guys that are really focused on being the best football players they can be. And in the same vein, Coach Jones, being good dudes.
Yes, sir.
They get it.
Right on.
I love seeing it. What about Isaiah Sategna?
His daddy found Oklahoma. His dad and mom found Oklahoma. Wanted him to be a part of it. They came on an official visit, got a chance to hang around with me. Dad already was familiar with Oklahoma and what the school is about. But once he had a chance to sit down with me and get to know a little bit more about me, my coaching style, that's what he felt like Isaiah needed. Someone that he could trust, believe into, that's going to hold him accountable and going to love him up at the same time also too. But that's going to pour into him as far as change his mindset, change his play style also too. All of that is still a work in progress, and those young men, they understand that. That's one thing we talk about all the time. Just focus on 1 week at a time. Just focus on our process as far as what we're trying to do. We're trying to peak at the right time as a unit and as a team.
Coach, have you ever had a player be at the center of more controversial plays in a football game than Isaiah Sategna? He had the one that was, they ended up not ruling it a fumble, right? That was returned for a touchdown for Auburn. We get a break there. had the play where he's uncovered by Auburn's defense. SEC puts out a ridiculous statement, in my opinion. The catch, no catch in the fourth quarter. Like, he was at the center of every controversial play in that game.
Right on, man. And I can say within all of that, one thing about Isaiah, he's going to always smile throughout, whatever it is.
Love that.
Always smile. Good-spirited young man, great to be around, and always smiling and confident about everything. I can recall one situation, I think it was against Michigan, and we were in good rhythm. It was like a 3rd and 5, a 3rd and 6. John found him. Perfect call by Arbuckle. I think Isaiah took his eyes off of it pretty quick and tried to get vertical, but he dropped the ball.
Dropped it, yeah.
And then guys know I'm a stickler about that in practice, you know. And so he kind of gave me a reason that week to kind of want to get on him in certain situations because he was kind of up and down going into that game. But he got a good group of brothers around him. So as soon as we got in our area on the sideline, first thing those guys said was, "Coach, leave him alone. Coach, he's going to be all right. Leave him alone." I left him alone, you know, and just moved on, started talking about the next series, you know.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right, we got one more segment with Emmett Jones. The way this is rolling, we need like 10. But we're going to talk about what we expect from Kent State coming up next. You're inside the Coach's Corner, presented by Riverwind.
Coach's Corner is brought to you by Bob Moore Ford, official sponsor of the Patriot of the Game. Bud Light, easy to drink, easy to enjoy. Riverwind Casino, it's always a good time.
Welcome back inside the Coach's Corner, presented by Riverwind Casino. Always a good time. And this segment with Emmett Jones is brought to you by Air Comfort Solutions, your total home solution for plumbing, heating, air conditioning, and electrical. Make the winning call today. Now, Coach, we have a lot of other receivers we want to talk about, but according to what everything that Coach Venables has told us, we might get our first look at number 11, Giovanni Gibson, who had a heck of a spring. Kind of give us a little perspective on what we can expect from Giovanni and what you saw from him after you brought him in from Arkansas Pine Bluff.
Man, you just saw a confident receiver that had a big chip on his shoulder, point to prove. Well under-recruited. You just knew he belonged on this level, on this stage. Made a lot of plays for us this spring. Really just dominated out on the perimeter, with the ball, without the ball. Quick game, screen game, downfield. Became John's favorite target. It was just a natural connection there. And matter of fact, they're still good buddies. Even when he had his injury, you know, he pretty much stayed locked in, stayed connected with us. He was there with us the entire time. If he's not getting any reps, still had the script in his hand going through everything that all the guys was going through. Man, he done put together excellent last few days of practice also too, man. He really hadn't even missed a beat to me, honestly. Wow. He did a good job with him.
So he looks similar to the way he looked before the injury to you? Because if that's the case, I may need a moment.
He hadn't missed nothing. You know, we just got to be careful, you know, because we do want to limit his reps, want to ease him back in. You know, don't want to, you know, just go blank and treat him like he's hadn't had an injury. But no, he hadn't missed a beat, man. Just being smart with it.
Well, so I'm trying to think of the best way to word this. It's not as if this receiver room is missing anything. We've talked a lot about Dion and Isaiah Satania last segment. You know, we'll get to Contez Lewis and the great impact he's had, and the young guys that have popped in and played well too. So when I say that, it's not like this room is missing anything. But what can Giovanni Gibson provide? What type of receiver are we going to get in Giovanni Gibson, you think?
Just a understood go-to number one target against anyone, any situation. John's going to find him, know how to get open. Just physical specimen, just like, you know, just watched a couple of clips from early practice on Tuesday. Just being physical at the point of contact, being physical, creating separation, you know. So just like I said, number one guy in any situation.
This is the best way I can put it. When I went out to spring ball and watched you guys practice, you immediately go, who's number 11?
Yes, sir.
That's you. He stands out physically, and I think one of the biggest impacts he can have, Coach, is you can't double team Burks. You can't pay extra attention to Kanik, who's been a really big weapon for us as a receiver, when Giovanni Gibson's on the field. Like, you have to respect his ability and the physical presence he is.
Correct. So you want to be great in all areas. If you do try to put too much attention on those guys, we can hurt you somewhere else. We want to play complementary football with each other. Run game, pass game, however. Any one of those wideouts, or it can be Kendrick. You got eyes on Keontez. You're worried about Burks. Can't forget about Santega. So it's just so much in there. Even with Mike Hawkins, you got to keep your eyes on him too, because one lane, he's out of there. And it can be over at any second with him. And those guys know Mike really loves to push the ball downfield. So scramble drill is in full effect with him.
Anything that's we're missing on Keontez Lewis, who overcame a really tough shot that he took at Temple, didn't miss a game, was back in there whenever we needed him against Auburn, and has really looked good. Nine is evoking memories of a former number 9 in Mark Clayton, and how he's looking out there. What's kind of stood out about Keontez and his adapting to the Oklahoma way?
He just had the overall game. He got the right mindset, got the right attitude for it. He's perfect in the classroom, picks the script up and install fast. Leader on the field, but when it's time to get nasty and dirty, you can do that also too. Know how to get open, understand coverages on the back end. Always grade out high, when you're grading guys tough. So he's confident. He's always feel like he's open, but he knows complementary to football. Just a smart player and tough too, man. And all those guys just bring a different strength to the room. But I just think he has the overall complete package.
One of my favorite parts of his game, maybe my favorite part of his game, is the way that he works the middle of the field. Coach, he's got such a good understanding of where to sit in zone.
Right.
Is that something that he had the second he got here, or is it something that you guys go over a lot? Because he seems to know exactly where to sit, whether it's that first window, that second window. And Mateer and him, and I'm sure Hawkins and him will have the same connection, but it's just really impressed me. He's got no fear going over the middle of the field. He's just got a great feel for it.
Right on. And that's something that back when he was at East St. Louis High School, and you know what those guys are about up there, they train year-round up there when it comes to the receiver position. So a lot of guys that come through that area, they have a unique skill set when it comes to playing wide out. And then it showed up on tape a lot also too. When he was at UCLA, when he was at Wisconsin, of course at SIU, it showed up on tape. And so once he got here, you just overemphasize and just constantly just drill those certain situations. But he had already had a sense of awareness when it comes to getting open and creating space.
You want to have as much talent in the receiver room as you can possibly have.
Right on.
You want to have as much, especially you want to have young, highly recruited, those types of guys. But how nice is it to just have some old dudes in your room? Because you look like Keontez, Deion, like these are guys that they've played a ton of football now.
Right. And they're great for guys like Elijah Thomas.
Ooh.
I'm telling you, man.
He's showing up on special teams.
Man,
that's usually the first sign.
He's showing up in practice, man. The bye week and his last few days, man, his confidence level is so high. Ask any one of those DBs, those same guys that was out there covering those Auburn receivers. Ask them about Elijah Thomas in one-on-one, 7-on-7, or without the ball, getting to his blocking fit. Man, he strains through the whistle. Takes coaching well to a true student of the game. And then, also when we're on the sideline, when in any kind of special team situation, those guys are excited to get up to go watch him perform on special teams. So the dude is elite, man.
He's been fantastic. He stood out on special teams. He probably has not had the role that he has wanted to have as a receiver so far, but how have you seen Elijah Thomas handle that? How has he handled that in the meeting room, handled that on the practice field when he probably hasn't gotten the reps that he's wanted to see?
One thing we always enforce in that room is that in this system, trust is huge, man. Trust is huge, especially with a guy like John. Trust is huge. You got to know. You got to know the exact system because that play could change 4 to 5 times before that play is actually ran. And also from Coach Arbuckle also too, trust, and that's something he has improved on a lot, if you ask me. So his time is coming. We have a long season. His time is coming. In this league, you need great competitive depth.
Hey, before I let you go, you mentioned their time is coming. In the short stints we've seen of Zion Kearney and Ivan Carrion, you get you get the sense that it's just a matter of time for those guys too. How have you seen their development?
Just a matter of time. They constantly trending upwards. no setback. You don't even give them a chance to set back. You constantly challenge those guys, and they taking it well. So they get almost equal amount of reps as the older guys do at practice, just to gain that trust for when those situations might come up. So I feel confident about any one of those guys being out on the football field. It's all about getting everybody else to feel confident about them also too. But the top level guys are playing at a high level right now. But time is coming.
Everyone wants to fast forward to next week. We're not going to do that. So let's talk about Kent State a little bit. This is a defense, let's just be honest, that has struggled so far this season. What have you seen from them, and maybe what type of opportunities do you think the guys in your room will have this week?
Well, for one, I tell the guys from what we see on tape, man, we probably won't see it against us because coached against Oklahoma for 9 years. Everybody's going to give us their best shot. So we got to make sure we keep our heads swivel. And really don't even worry about Kent State. We're trying to take care of ourselves. It's about that week-to-week, that day-to-day and that week-to-week process that we've been talking about goes back to January, So they just happen so to be on the schedule, but we know their best shot is coming because they're coming to Oklahoma to play against OU. So we want to keep trending upwards.
Great stuff. Coach, you're the best. Appreciate your time.
Appreciate you.
Brendan Hall is standing by. He's ready to go. We got more Inside the Coach's Corner next, presented by Riverwind. Stick around.
Coach's Corner is brought to you by Riverwind Casino. It's always a good time. Walden Cleaners and Laundry, where the difference is quality. Sooner Kids Club. Log on to Soonersports.com/kids for information about joining the Kids Club presented by OG&E and brought to you in part by Devon Energy. We want to thank all of our Sooner Radio Network affiliates across the state and region. Fans can check out Soonersports.com for an affiliate in your area. And if you're traveling outside the state of Oklahoma, you can listen to all the action on either SiriusXM Radio or download the Varsity Network app and listen free.
Welcome back Inside the Coach's Corner. The segment, as the show, is presented by Riverwind Casino. Riverwind Casino is always a good time. We're pumped to welcome in Brandon Hall, the Sooner safeties coach, entering in the midst of his 4th season. Coach, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Good to be back on.
Yeah, it's good to have you back on. Take us through the bye week and kind of what you learned about your squad through having a week off.
It was good for us, kind of get a jump on some future opponents, and then as much as anything, do some self-scout, go back and kind of look at where we need to improve as from a technique standpoint at our position. And so went back and were able to really focus on just 2 or 3 things that Coach Venables and the defense felt like we needed to get better at. And so for me, that was good because you feel like you've got a little extra time in your individual periods to focus on the little things. And that's kind of what it was, a lot more individual, a lot more, player-focused-based drills, and a little less scheme and a little less, as far as game planning goes. But that was the main part of it.
How exciting is it for you, just looking at the defense as a whole, you guys are first in the country in a lot of categories. How encouraging is that for you, for the guys in your room, for the guys on this defense, knowing that all the hard work you guys put in the offseason, leading into the season, everything you're doing each and every week in game prep, that you're seeing the type of results you want to see?
Well, I've said this before to a lot of people. It's like I've always felt like the culture was where it needed to be. I've always felt like we've improved the types of players that we've recruited. A lot of those guys, obviously, we've developed. But the one thing that we've lacked is momentum. And I'm a big believer that football is a momentum game. And to come back and win the Auburn game late like we did was something that I remember my first year, we lost 5 games by less than a touchdown. And so to win these close games, which we all know the SEC is a one possession league, and I was happy for our guys because when you're trying to convince somebody to sell out, to give all they have, it's just they got to feel like there's a reason and a purpose behind that, and it's good, man. I just love the way we're playing and take pride in defense. You got to have a great defense to win championships, as everybody knows.
This might be a dumb question, so swat it the Kibbe Mutombo style if you want. But whenever Coach was on with us on Monday, he talked about second and medium being an area that whenever they look back at all the analytics and all the numbers, that was kind of an area of frustration. Can you focus on being good in an area like that, or is it just an overall defensive approach?
Well, he brought that up to the staff, and then for me, a little OCD, I like to take it to even another level, right? So when you say second and medium, is that what point of the game? Is that at the end of the game? What style of offense are we playing? Was it in a tempo situation? We talk a lot of times about P and 10 versus first and 10. So is that second medium after the first play of a drive, it's good to hear it. You always want to go back and look for ways to improve, but for me, it was just, all right, let's really peel this back and even get into more detail. Are we not getting the call in fast enough in a tempo situation, or maybe that we're getting schemed a little bit more than we thought on that second down on a P and 10 situation because the offense is trying to use their drive starters that they've got scripted, and so I always like looking at things like that.
I like that. So not a bad question.
No. Okay, Cliff.
You've known Brent Venables for a long time.
A couple weeks.
He's back in the saddle as the defense coordinator calling plays. I know it's a collaborative effort between everyone on the defensive staff, but what's that been like for you having BV back on the sideline calling it?
I just like eliminating the middleman. I think at the end of the day, when you've got somebody with his resume, with his experience, for me, it's just like, let's just get to the guy that's been there. He's always going to have ideas and suggestions, and I think you live in a day and time when you're playing so many great offensive coordinators week in and week out, and for a guy that's faced a lot of them in the past, who has a great understanding of how they think through experience more than anything, I think it's a resource that we have to take advantage of, especially where we're at as a program. We know that we're right there on the cutting edge, so to speak, of crossing over and becoming the program that we all know we want to be. But at the same time, man, you got to take advantage of every resource you have.
So speaking of resources, you led me right into my next question. You would float. You'd be in the booth sometimes. You've been on the field. I think it's been mostly all on the field this year. So from that perspective, the difference the iPads have made is
that's everything. I think that's where the game's going. For so long, having somebody in the box that you felt like had just a great understanding of scheme. And I've been a coordinator in the past, and also being a secondary guy, it was always a good thing. But the thing now is you have that iPad sitting right there, and so then you're able to convey that message directly to your players, which takes a layer away from him having to go communicate that. Does that make sense? So now, instead of us having to tell the head coach as the defensive coordinator, hey, this is the things we need to fix, he now knows that, hey, I've got guys down here that have all been coordinators, right? They understand the scheme, they know what we want, and so now I can go be a head coach, when the offense is on the field more. Obviously, he's going to, have input, but we can get that information as coaches directly to them and get it fixed.
You mentioned the number of guys on the defensive staff that have been coordinators. What has that collaboration been like between you, Venables, Wes Goodwin? There's just a wealth of experience and knowledge there.
I've never been a soldier or been in war, but I think there's this camaraderie between,
people that have been in the fire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was telling
I get you.
You've called 3rd and 3. You really don't have any room to talk. And everybody wants to be a coordinator until they're the coordinator, I guess. It's the loneliest place I've ever been. Things aren't going well, and you're like, hey guys, what do you think? And you look around, and it's like,
I don't know.
You're the coordinator.
Where'd everybody go? You guys had all this input on Tuesday. Everybody had a just this plethora or whatever. You just have knowledge, and you guys were also smart. And now here we are. The game's on the line. And it's just crickets are massive around. Big 1 pound crickets everywhere.
But it's really cool because even we had Coach Eiling on last week, Wes, and what he's provided. Yourself, Todd Bates has been in this defense long enough, probably like a coordinator. It's got to be good to have kind of that think tank, that group share, if you will. And then you have the president, that's leading it all in Coach Venables.
Yeah, there's nobody that has more knowledge about D-line than Todd Bates. And then, it's just the really cool thing even about, like you said, Coach Dreiling and Coach Goodwin, they understand the value of the moment. And I can't put enough, in being in these 2-minute situations or these goal line situations, and just guys that get like, all right, it's one thing to have a great call, but it's also another thing to just understand the moment and be able to get your guys in the right frame of mind of, hey, yeah, it's 4th and 2. They're going to throw the ball here. Most people would say, hey, they're going to run it. But no, hey, they're not running the ball very well today, and so just all that information from experience that just comes into the moment is huge. And what's funny is the less, the more coordinators you have, seems like the less people talk in those situations because
It's interesting.
they're thinking.
Yeah.
We all fall back. All right, that moment I was in 5 years ago, same situation. Well, I screwed that up. Let me not do that again.
You mentioned kind of in your hypothetical example there, teams not running the ball well. Other than one run against Michigan, you guys have been lights out defending the run. Your safeties play a big role in that. And I've been really impressed with how they've come up, fit the run, and how physical they've been as tacklers. A lot of people think it as the safety position as, hey, you're defending the pass, but how much pride have your guys taken in shutting down the run the way that you guys have shut opponents down so far?
Well, I think for me, everything starts up front. I think that's probably the area with Miguel and Todd where they've just done such a fabulous job of gotten so much bigger up front, and they're just so well coached. And so I think as safeties, then you got the linebackers and how they fall into it. But for us as DBs, we have to just be, you don't know till you go, and for us in the back end, we have to eliminate explosives, which I feel like we're in a really good spot right now. Someone said the other day we were like 7th nationally. And so for us to play everything top down, and not give away the easy catches and throws down the field, and then be able to fit off of those guys is it's a sign of maturity. Eliminating big plays. I'm all for a 3-yard run versus a 50-yard pass. So and I know that sounds kind of silly, but
Weird. Me too.
yeah, but it's easier said than done. You go back and you look at the big play that we gave up against Auburn. We were in a concept where, it's, we know in that situation, and we talk about it, Coach B talks about it daily, that it's either run or it's shots. Mm-hmm. So they're either going to run the ball or they're going to throw it deep. Well, no duh, idiot. But at the same time, when you're an 18, 19, 20-year-old, and you're in this environment where 90,000 people are screaming and yelling, and everybody wants to make the play, and there was no need for us to be that aggressive in the back end on that play. And so we just, when you're playing an elite receiver or really good quarterbacks, man, your margin of error is so small. And in this league that we're in, that's where I just keep talking about experience, and being in those situations over and over again is something that is finally starting to pay off, man, especially at safety.
Well, let's talk about your safeties when we come back. We're inside the Coach's Corner. This segment has been presented by Riverwind Casino. Riverwind Casino, always a good time. One more segment with Brandon Hall next inside the Coach's Corner. Stick around.
Coach's Corner is brought to you by Dos Equis, the official import beer of OU Athletics. Go for Dos. Enjoy Dos Equis responsibly. OU's 2025 football games are available on Ritmo 96.5 FM in Oklahoma City and 101.5 FM El Patron in Tulsa, as well as on these stations' websites. Each OU Spanish broadcast will feature a 30-minute pregame show and a 15-minute postgame show.
Welcome back inside the Coach's Corner. Brandon Hall is with us. Our final segment of the Coaches is brought to you by Bob Moore Ford, official sponsor of the Patriot of the Game, Bob Moore Ford. All right, let's talk about some of your guys. For the whole first segment, just talking philosophy and obviously the season that we've had so far. But Robert Spears-Jennings made the decision to come back. Looks like it's paid off for him. Where have you seen his growth so far this year?
So Robert was a receiver in high school, and so
Broken Arrow Tiger, right?
Yeah, and so to me, it's like I think people forget, like they just assume that they've just played safety their entire lives, and that when we get them, that they're just pretty much ready-made. And to watch him from his freshman year to his sophomore year, and he's a guy that's done it the right way. So he comes in as a freshman. Well, obviously, we weren't very talented on the defensive side. He plays special teams. Comes back as a sophomore. He plays special teams again. But now he's also playing some snaps, right? And so you've just seen the long. He's what you're looking for from the pattern of, I'm going to do this thing the right way. I'm going to be patient. I'm going to bide my time. I'm going to learn. I'm going to get stronger, faster, and bigger. And the person that he is today, versus the person he was as a freshman, they wouldn't even recognize each other. They wouldn't even say hello to each other on the street, just because they're just night and day. And we joke about it. He's one of my favorites because he's been here the longest. But people don't understand. He's got a 4.0 GPA. He's got 4 A's. And to me, you know, I was like, if you really want to impress me, be an academic All-American, you know.
It's not that hard, I promise.
Well,
As an academic All-American.
We were really bad at that position when we took you, and so it just kind of panned out. But, you know, Robert had to play. You just happened to
Had no choice.
You had no choice. So
He's been great. One of maybe the most improved guy on the team in my eyes is Peyton Bowen. And it has a lot to do with the fact that he's healthy and he's available. We knew the type of talent he had, Coach, but man, he's finally putting it all together out there on the field.
Well, like you said, he hits quarterback at Texas his freshman year. He's a freshman All-American, only plays 6 games. He has the severe high ankle sprain. Plays with it. Here's what's crazy is because he's so quiet, people kind of say, well, how tough is he? Like, well, let me say this. His first year, he played whole year because we needed him with a high ankle sprain, which most people don't ever come back hardly even play from. And then last year, suffers a foot fracture against South Carolina on the punt return, and plays the entire year because we need him.
That was a foot fracture?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And so he, which you know as a DB, playing with a broken foot can be painful. So we finally decided in the spring that we're going to let it heal, and so now he's finally healthy, and he just. I'm happy for him because, and on top of that, then you got a guy like Satanga who comes in and just adds value as a returner, right? And so that takes some of that load off of Peyton, which people don't realize the amount of miles these guys run each week in practice and how that plays out over a season. And you know, Peyton is just, I'm happy for him. He deserves it, you know, and I'm excited to see how he does the rest of the way this year.
Toby coined Bam Bam Boganowski, I think, earlier this year. I think he's still workshopping it a little bit, but we know one thing for certain. Michael Boganowski, whenever there's someone needed to cap off a play, that's the dude. What have you seen in his growth?
What's amazing is the Auburn game, and I was joking with him about it, was the first time that I saw him go in the game and just really enjoy. He enjoys playing, don't get me wrong, but just there was this aura of confidence that he had the entire time that he was in there. I know when you're a freshman or you're a young guy, there's this sense of uncertainty about the moment, but he is one of the better tacklers that I've ever had the opportunity to be around, and he just gets better and better. I mean, he's the future, obviously, in the back end as far as this program goes. I'm very blessed and fortunate to have somebody like RJ back for another year to mentor him and to teach him a lot of the little things. Again, this guy played linebacker in high school and was at us from Kansas where they didn't even have spring ball. And so the issues that we have as coaches sometimes, we just assume that these kids know all the things that we know. And so his growth has been amazing, and excited to see what he does the rest of the year. I'm very fortunate to coach. You just, again, another high academic, 4.0, 3.8 GPA guy, but as good of a football person he is, he's a better, he's a better person. He's just the type of kid that you want to be around. Humble, soft-spoken, but if you got the ball, it's deer season,
May not say much, but plays very loud. Very loud. Now, Reggie Powers is another guy. His versatility and what he brings to y'all there in the back end of the defense. Just what have you seen from Reggie? It seems like he's starting to really find a role for you guys on this defense.
Well, Reggie, again, is another guy that's the future of the defense, and he's kind of a victim of his own desire to be on the field. He's a guy that wants to be the nickel, wants to learn the strong, and he's just, and that's a good thing because you always need that experience and depth. The crazy thing is obviously that him and Mike are roommates. They go to church every Sunday together, and again, another high GPA guy that, you just...
Got a bunch of nerds back in your group, huh?
Well, it's something that you find out that how people live their lives off the field is generally a direct correlation of how they live their lives on the field. I'm not saying that's 100%, but if you really mean what you say and say what you mean and care about what people think, generally it's a direct reflection of not only how you play, but how you dress and how you act and how you go about your academics.
I used to say all the time, if I can't trust you to go to class on a Tuesday, how am I supposed to trust you on 3rd and 3 on Saturday?
That's right.
Come on, guys. Let's go. It seems like you're doing a good job with these guys.
You would not have trusted me whenever I was in college, that's for sure.
Don't.
I still don't, man. I don't blame you. Hey, Kent State coming up this week, and obviously there's a lot of excitement about what's looming and what's ahead with the not only SEC schedule, but the Red River rivalry here in a few weeks. But what have you seen in the preparation this week, and what have you seen from the Golden Flashes?
So people don't realize, and you always start with the mindset of the offensive coordinator. He's actually an Oklahoma guy.
Yeah, he is.
He's really, really intelligent guy. I know him. The head coach was the coordinator there last year. They were like the number 2 in the country last year in explosive plays. And the thing that they do a great job of is, one, they play with great effort, and 2, they're constantly looking for ways to create big plays. They check nearly every play, and they're looking for the matchup. You know what I'm saying? And they'll throw it. And this is not the time to grow weary as far as having your eyes in the right place, reading your keys, because these guys they relish coming into a place like Norman. And what's funny sometimes is we forget, our environment gets us pumped up, but it also gets the opponent pumped up.
Sure.
And so we always get everybody's best, and so we're going to get their best. And our job, especially secondary coaches, is, man, you got to stay locked in. You got to play.
Great stuff. You're the man. Appreciate you, B. Hall. Have a blast this weekend.
Yeah.
Brandon Hall, Gabe and I will wrap up the Coach's Corner next, presented by Riverwind. Stick around.
See you.
Thank you to our cornerstone television partners, OU Health, OG&E, Fowler Auto Group, and Coca-Cola. Coach's Corner is brought to you by One Oklahoma, powered by Sooner Sports Properties, fan-fueled, athlete-focused. The Sooner Sports Podcast is your all-access audio pass to Sooner Sports. Listen as Toby Rowland and Chris Plank talk all things Sooners. Log on to Soonersports.com/podcast or search Sooner Sports Podcast in your favorite podcast provider. The Sooner Sports Podcast is presented by Allstate and Riverwind Casino.
Final segment, as always, is brought to you by Warren Cat, proud sponsor of Sooner Athletics. So, Gabe, let's look at the Kent State Golden Flashes, our upcoming schedule, brought to you by One Oklahoma, powered by Sooner Sports Properties, fan-fueled, athlete-focused. Obviously, it's been a struggle so far for them this year. Some Eichert's intel and a key to a Sooner victory this weekend.
It's all about Oklahoma. I think we're all interested in how the offense looks now that Mike Hawkins is QB1 with John Mateer out with the injury. The number one thing I'm looking for from OU's offense in this game is movement at the point of attack from the offensive line. Kent State's defensive line is undersized. They're at the defensive tackle position. They're in that 275, 285-pound range. So I want to see the run game, traditional running back run game, get going a little bit. And I want to see how Hawkins adds to that. And then defensively, just keep doing what you're doing, man. I mean, it's been really, really good. They do have one player, Deshaun Martin, number 1, a wide receiver for them, that stands out to me. He's a solid player. So you got to make sure you know where he's at. With some of the things that Cam Coleman did for Auburn, probably going to test some of the double move stuff. Not saying Martin's Cam Coleman, right, but he's a quality receiver.
Upcoming schedule brought to you by Sooner Sports Properties, fan-fueled, One Oklahoma, powered by Sooner Sports Properties, fan-fueled, athlete-focused. Enjoy the game on Saturday. For Gabe Eichert, for our producer Dan Cavanaugh, I'm Chris Plank. We'll see you next week for OU Texas Week. Until then, Boomer Sooner.
This has been the Riverwind Casino Coach's Corner, presented by Riverwind Casino. Always a good time. The preceding has been a Learfield presentation on the Sooner Sports Network.